Hello, Opening Pathways viewers. This is Tom Lenoble. It's great to have you back today with me. And I have a great guest today. Staci Miller is with us today. I'm going to ask Staci to tell us about herself, her company. And Staci, we want to know, what was it that sparked your idea to get started with it?
Thank you for asking. So I'm Staci Miller, as Tom just said, and I started a company named GenUX about 3 years ago. We just started year 3 recently, so very exciting. And the concept was really something I noticed when I was working with engineers and researchers and designers. And I noticed that when all of us together actually work together, design and research are two sides of the same coin. And it was really helpful to work really closely with designers to bring products to market and then be able to explain to the engineers, here's the research based on the design. So not very many of my projects really had research and design working super closely together, like as if they were a quarter, two sides of the same coin. Like one was heads, one was tails. And the products and the projects that I worked on where that did occur, where I was able to create that space, did really well in the marketplace, whether it was in medical or big tech. And I've worked across both. So when I started my business, I was like, this is what I want to do and this is where I want to live. So GenUX was born, and we literally only talk about the intersection of research and design and how that impacts how you interact with products.
Wonderful. I think of many times we could have used your company at companies I was working at. So I want to know, what was the moment that you said to yourself, this is it, this is my path?
Okay, so that's a great question. I was working at Meta and I was really enjoying myself, and I was working specifically at Facebook, working on the ad side. And we were creating a lot of products and doing a lot of really cool things. And I enjoyed my team very much. And this was during the period of time where Mark Zuckerberg was very honest about layoffs coming and potentially when they were going to happen and who they were going to happen to. Not who, but like there was a couple of different rounds, and how it was broken down was based on what pillar of the company you worked for underneath the like team, not specifically the product team that you were on, but like the team or the pillar of that company. So there were rounds of them, and we knew that they were coming. So every year I sit down and I ask myself 4 questions. And those questions really revolve around where you want to be in 3 to 5 years, what gives you energy, what takes energy away, and what are like non-negotiables in your role that you must have. So I took another moment and did that again that year in the middle of all this conversation. And I just focused on what is going to make me happy if I lose my job. Because it's possible, like nothing's personal, these things happen. And I had survived so many rounds of layoffs in general in all the world of tech that I'd been in. And I was like, one day it's probably going to happen, but I really need to have a direction and a path. So at first I was like, no, 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 I don't want to start another business because I've done that before and I have post-traumatic stress and we're not going to do that again. No way, no way. But when I started to sit down and really think about the things that make me sing in my soul, we'll put it that way, or like set me on fire, excite me, get me really excited for the day, it was being able to speak my own in my own voice, being able to be myself. And like, I really love working with designers and researchers. Like, I love it. And I love working with engineers, even though they're very different types of people. And I was like, I'm going to go off on my own. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to do this and I'm going to build a business. It's not just going to be me as an individual contributor, as an IC. I'm going to build this and I'm going to create this. And somehow it's going to work. I don't know how. I don't know how, because this is going to be a really rough marketplace, but I'm going to make it work. And you're number 3, we're making it work. So that's where the idea came from. And obviously I did get laid off. So I mean, it's not like I just quit my job, but it was a really good thought process to have and a really good place to be in, instead of being a super, super worry wart. I did worry still, because I'm human and I'm, just kind of get that Woody Allen thing sometimes, but I really just knew I could do this other thing. And within a week of deciding that, I had my first client.
Eight.
And then within 6 to 8 months, I had another client. So I had 2 clients the first year, which then turned into 5 clients the year after, which has turned into people we've kept and more this last third year that we're going into already. I'm very fortunate. Like, it's not that easy. I make it sound easy, but it's really, like, you have to just keep going and keep being consistent and keep doing the same things over and over again and building a brand and just moving forward even when you have those really rough days. And so that's how GenUX was really started, was when I got laid off. It happens.
Congratulations on year 3. And, I have clients all the time when we make these decisions. You don't make the decision lightly, but once you make it, sometimes it's wise to just keep going and let go of the outcome and what it might look like and let it unfold. I happen to believe things happen that way. It's not like we have to do in some parts of life. We have to make sure the lights are on and there's gas in the car. But there's some things that are allowed to let them evolve and see what comes to you. So congratulations. I want to back up a little bit and hear a little bit about the younger Stacey and who was it that was a role model or somebody in your life that influenced you to be the person you are today? Because clearly we can hear it. You've been through a number of things, and you've talked about the layoffs and how you've experienced them and faced it and planned for what you were going to do next. But somebody influenced this person that Stacey is today. Who is it?
I'm not really sure, but one of my family members must have made me extremely stubborn and a little optimistic. I'm not sure if it was a combination of my grandparents and my parents. My grandmother was exceedingly stubborn, and maybe I got some of that from her. And before I started this, like, there's been people in my industry that have, when I said I might consider doing my own thing, my mentor and friend and previous boss, Tony Andre, who also owns his own consulting firm, was like, just do it. And he's been kind of somewhat of an inspiration, but also someone I can bounce ideas off of. And then I think I look around me and I see success, and I see friends who've done things and they just did it. And I don't know if they're role models, but they're people who I've watched unfold. Like, they started from like selling, when I worked in fashion, that was my first business. I knew people who sold hats that have turned into multi-billion-dollar businesses, right? So I knew it was possible, and I watched them do that, and I was just totally fascinated by how they did it, and they're still achieving more and achieving more. And will I be like them? I don't know, but I believe that I can get to a good state like that. I also believe in the power of like thinking positively and like acting on those behaviors, right? So I don't want to get into like the wooey wooiness of life, but I do fully believe that energy cannot be destroyed, but it can be transferred. So if you can transfer energy, that means you can manipulate energy. And if you can manipulate energy, then you can create whatever you want. So when I studied, before I went into psychology, I studied philosophy. And Descartes was one of my favorite philosophers, and he said that you could create the environment and the world around you. And so I believe that. And I read a lot of books that talk about that type of thing as well. So Jen Sincero is one of the people I like to read. Peter Attia, I've read. There's another cognitive psychologist that I like to think about and like read his stuff. But basically, if you can imagine it and really picture it, you can create that world for yourself. So I believe that very deeply. And some days I have bad days and I'm like, oh my God, I got to get these negative thoughts out of my brain. But I mean, everybody has those days, right? So I focus on the positive days, and I focus on moving forward. And that's been my inspiration. So I don't know if it's one person or if it's just a conglomerate of things that I've absorbed over time that make me believe that I can do this or like look at that future. And trust me, I've fallen on my face and failed really badly as well. So to even do this again, I'm like, bad things could happen, but let's just not think about that. I learned a lot about myself, the first company I had, and the bad things that did happen and correlated with that. And what I've built from that is a foundation to do what I'm doing now. But at the time, it really sucked. Like it was like horrible.
I love this concept because what you're describing to me is resilience. And resilience isn't about falling down and just getting up. You've fallen down, you've gotten up, and you've grown from it, and you've moved forward. And that's what it's really about. So tell me this. I know our viewers want to know. What personal values guided you from the very start?
Oh, that's a great question. Personal values. Um, Let me think about that. So I believe in hard work, consistency, and grit. And I have all of those things. And I believe that if you have those, oh, and motivation, like I get up early. I'm like an early bird. I wake up, I'm out of bed, I'm ready to go. I make lists of the things that I have to accomplish for the day. So I think that when it comes to those things, I think that's what moves me forward every day. And then it's just keeping that accountability and saying, I'm going to do these things. And then you do those things. I don't not finish my list at the end of the day. I don't have a list of 5,000 things, but I do have a list of 5 or 6 things to do in the day and an overview of things to keep going. So it's grit, consistency. I want to say what I do. It's kind of, I'm passionate about it too. Like I've got a fire burning inside of me. And another thing I'm going to say is when I worked in corporate a lot, people constantly told me like, to behave a certain way or to act a certain way. And I would constantly adjust because I was trying to do the right thing by my peers and to make sure that I was good at being part of their world. And all that was really doing was slowly destroying me. Like, and I didn't realize it till like I kind of got let go. And I was like, it felt like an elephant was no longer sitting on me anymore. So being true to your inner voice and keeping it is super important. And I get
Be,
to do that
be who you are because that's who you are.
now.
And we don't have to remember who we've been to other people because we're just being who we are.
Yeah.
And thing, tell me this. I love I found another list maker line. But tell me this. Have you ever doubted your vision on this journey?
Oh, of course. I mean, I think that you'd have to be crazy not to, right? I mean, there's been a lot of really, really good days, and I would say that there's way more good days than there are bad days. But once in a while, you wake up and you've pitched $1 million of business over 2 months or 3 months, and nothing lands, and you're like, why am I doing this? Am I crazy in the head? Like, why am I punishing myself? Like, I could just go get a job and it would be easy, but I wouldn't be happy. So like why why do you have this cognitive dissonance happening all the time? But yeah, I have had like some really bad couple of months where like we didn't land anything new. Um I was working with very difficult clients who eventually love me at the end, but like sometimes it's like if when you tell them people the truth, they don't really always like the truth. They like a different version of the truth that doesn't always work in the same way. So like sometimes people can be very grumpy. And I just remember there's been a couple of months in between this 3 years where I was dealing with difficult clients. I was dealing with people who didn't want to hear things that were true. And those people, even though they were being difficult and I was having difficult times landing new business, eventually all came back and were like, I'm going to zip my lip. You were right. Because I just did this thing and I got told that I was wrong by a regulatory body or, my product team. So now I'm back. I'm going to be nice and I'm going to listen. So, like, I think that anybody in business who's starting has that hard couple of months, but they're just a couple of minutes. Like, you just, the in the train of life or the car of life, we'll just say it's like a speed bump. It's just a bump in the road. You just like keep going. Know that there's going to be more difficult days, and it's just kind of like if you can get through that hurdle, then you can get through the next one, and you can get through the next one. Just keep going. And so that's kind of mantra. Yeah.
Tell me this. What did those early days teach you about trust?
Which company?
Early days. It doesn't even have to be a company.
So that's a great question. When I was younger, like in my 20s and I had started my first business, I think I was very naive about people. I just made the assumption that people are just going to do the right thing and be right by you, right? That was not a good decision because I was very naive to think that people wouldn't try to like get what they needed for their situation. People are people, they're not good or bad. They're just doing what they need to do for themselves, right? So what I learned from the first company, I pulled through to the next company. I negotiate as much as I possibly can because I learned that if you don't, you get taken advantage of. And I've brought that through not just being hired at positions, like they're always going to offer you the number. So I'm like, I'll ask for something ridiculous. And ironically, I've always gotten it. And I'm like, I didn't ask for enough. So like, in my business now, like I just ask for the things that I believe that I'm worth. And I believe that my team is worth. And sometimes people say no, and then they come back and say yes, because we're not expensive. We're really well priced. But that's the one thing I think I've learned is that people do right by them. They want to do for themselves. And it's not like whether people are evil or good. In I don't believe in that. I believe people do what they do and they're people. Just like I have good and bad, right? And I'm going to negotiate. Maybe that really annoys somebody and they don't like how I'm negotiating, but that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It just means I'm negotiating. So I learned that because I was really naive when I first started the first business. And I think that that's the biggest lesson I've learned throughout life.
Now, how do you decide when to pivot or push through?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the situation. We had a client that was being a little inappropriate with, well, what I deemed inappropriate with my staff. So I pivoted and fired them. Now, some clients, like in that situation, I don't think that there was like a pathway through. So I made that decision. But I believe that everything, I'm not like mad at that client or anything like that, but I think that there's boundaries. And I think that if you know what your boundaries are in business and you know what you're willing to deal with and what you're willing to put up with, that's okay. And then you go down that path. But if those boundaries start to get, I want to say like torched, you pivot and you move on. That's with other people. But when it comes to business, I truly believe that the universe just provides you with what you need if you're really on track with your desires and hopes and dreams. Or like, I love this book called The Alchemist, and I listen to it all the time. But your own personal legend, like you want to be on path with your own personal legend. And I truly believe that what you need is given to you right when you need it. You may not see it in the best of ways, but you're like, well, I kind of think that that's the right direction. And here's an example of that. We are moving soon, hopefully. And I really wanted a very specific type of person to rent my rental house. I didn't say for how much, but I said I really want this person to rent my house because I know they'll be there from October to May. And I really want that. Well, I got that. I just didn't get the number per month that I wanted, but I got the people. So I'm like, I'm going to settle with the people. I'm not going to keep arguing and negotiating because it's fair. It's just not what I wanted, and I can deal with that. But it showed up 2 days after I asked for it. So I took it and I didn't even think about it. And so when you pivot, you should be pivoting if things aren't just falling in line naturally and you're fighting really, really hard to make something work. Like, and this shouldn't be on the same mental space as like you're having a bad 3 months. Like that's not the same thing. If you're getting meetings and you're moving forward and things are happening, but nobody's signing, that doesn't mean you're doing the wrong thing. It just means you just need to keep moving forward and figure it out and keep the lights on somehow, and eventually it's going to work. Whereas like being on target and having the things show up as you ask for them, they always do. They always do. So that's the only way I would pivot, is if those things weren't happening.
Right. Tell me this, what's the hardest no you ever had to say in your business?
When I did fire that one client, that was the hardest no. And it was because there was I don't want to go too deep into it, but there was a boundary situation where someone was calling someone 20 times a day and behaving in a way that I just didn't feel was attainable for my staff to respond to, nor do I want to set the precedent that that's an allowable behavior. Now, in some businesses, maybe people are fine with that. And they're like, nope, we're good. It's normal for us. Well, I don't want that in my world. And I don't want that. I don't want my staff to have to deal with that either. So I needed the money, but I'm like, not this way. Right. I'm like, I'm not going to do it this way. I'm not going to put up with this. This is inappropriate behavior. I don't like this. And I told my staff they were no longer allowed to speak to her directly, that I was the only person that was going to talk to her. And I wrote it down, and I refused to get on the phone with this person after that. I'm like, we will only communicate via email. You will get everything that you've paid for, and then we will never work with you again. But I will give you everything that you've paid for. And I want you to understand that you're getting that. However, you're not allowed to speak to my staff anymore, and you're not allowed to call them, and you're not allowed to talk to anybody but me. And that was a really intense feeling for me. And I'm sure that that person felt that on the other end too. And it wasn't because like they were bad people. Like, I'm going to repeat this. They weren't bad people. They were just crossing boundaries that I have set for my business that I'm not going to be okay with. And so when you really go out there and you're like, I'm serious about these boundaries and I'm serious about the world that I'm trying to create and the things that I want to have gravitate towards me. And you say no to something that's negative, like but you need the money, you're like, oh, this is really rough, but I'm doing it anyways. And so I did. And it was a good thing. We got 2 more clients after that, but it was still like really intense. Yeah. Again, like,
Yeah. Yeah, Stacey, I had this anybody on the podcast before, but it sounds like you're using a lot of the tools of manifesting, and it's really great. I'm interested to know what impact are you most proud of, not professionally, but personally?
the impact I'm most proud of personally. Well, I mentor a couple of people and I've seen 3 of them really, really grow. And I can't even tell you how proud I am of these people I mentor. I don't want to give their names away just in case their privacy, but um, one was a female and is a female still. She didn't change anything about that. And she was out of college, 2 years out of an intern, and like had been working at the same company, but was moving to different divisions of a company. And she was negotiating salary. And I'm like, ask for this, ask for this, ask for this, ask for this. And she was like, I don't think I can do that. And I'm like, then I don't think I can mentor you. You're going to do it. And she was like, okay. I'm like, listen, the worst anybody can say to you is no. That's the worst anybody can say. And that's okay. You want to hear a no. If they're just saying yes, you should have asked for more. You left something on the table. Like I constantly tell my mentees that. That's what I learned from like before, right? Just keep asking. You're going to find the number or the balance, right? So this person did. And I'll say it was a she got everything, but the total amount of bonus that she asked for, they could only give her 50% of what she asked for. And she called me. She was like, are you a genie? And how did you know? I'm like, you just have to ask for more than you think that you're worth because people will tell you what you're actually worth to them. Yes. And she got everything. She did, except for the total bonus that she asked for. And so,
yeah, there's Stacey sharing a lot of wisdom for you. Every now and then I say this, and I'm going to say it today. This is one of those podcasts you might want to listen to twice. Stacey, I can tell you have a commitment to your team, your people, and those you serve. Tell us about your leadership style.
So I believe that good leaders listen to their team. So this year, I mean, because we're starting to form job titles and actual positions instead of just being a startup with everybody doing whatever, because we know we're going to hire more. So this year for year end, I'll give an example of how I lead. I'm giving my team those same 4 questions, but I judge them in a way to talk about specifically this company. Like, where do you want to be in 2 to 3 years in this company? What do you want to see your title being? What are you wanting to work on? How do you see your title growing? How do you see your job developing? Because these are very important things. I need to know what my team wants so I can support that. Well, mostly support that, right? There's like within reason. I can give you what you need as long as, it's within reason and we can figure it out. And I want my team to be able to develop their own job descriptions. So I know what I need to provide for them in the future. And also, they need to know what they want. So when we bring on others, there's boundaries, there's clear definition of who's doing what in what swimming lane. And then it's easy to just, bring people on in that way. So there's like clear, it's very clear. The other thing I like to do is listen to everybody. So when we have branding conversations, Maddie, who works with me, is my main designer, and she basically creates content in all of our branding. And she also handles a couple of other social things. We sit and we talk about what she's doing and how she's doing it. And she comes up with tons of great ideas. And I just let her run. I let her run with the ideas because I want to see what she's going to come up with. And then maybe I'll steer it. Oh, what about this? And that's kind of how we came up with the branding that we have right now, because we have avatars. It's not just videos of me on all the social platforms talking into a microphone, which I see a lot of. And I'm like, first, I felt very intimidated by that. Second, I wanted to do something different. So we built avatars. So now my whole team has avatars and they've all gotten involved and they're like, I like this color from our branding. Can that be my card? And I don't like what I'm wearing here, but I like this. So like, I think that's very important, especially with the core team that you create, because this is the backbone of my company. These are the face of my company. It's not just me, it's them too. So I want to encourage that conversation, encourage that behavior. I talk to my sales staff we talk probably more than most people would, but every other day we just kind of like review things and we talk about what her position's going to turn into. And she's recorded a couple of different sales calls and she's like, when we bring people on, I'm going to teach them how to do this. This was a perfect call. So she sees a future. I'm like, let's talk about what that looks like for you. So these are really important conversations to have. And I think it's extremely important to let people express themselves, because I didn't feel like I got to do that. I was told, instead of being able to just be. And if people had just let me be, I would have been a lot better. I mean, I'm good, but I would have been so much better because I wouldn't have been worried about, am I allowed to say this word? Should I filter all my language? Is it Tuesday or Wednesday? Like, how are you going to feel about what I'm doing today? And like, I don't want that. That's not a culture I'm building here. As a matter of fact, like I drop the F-bomb all the time in my meetings just to see who's okay with it and who isn't. And if someone's clutching their pearls and is not okay with it, they're probably not a good fit for my team. And that's okay. They'll go somewhere else. That's totally okay.
Tell me this. How do you lead when you're not sure of yourself?
Yeah, that's weird. That's a great question though, because how is any of us really sure of ourselves, right? I pick a direction and I go with it. And if my team, I'll ask my team, like, do you like this direction? And if they're like, yeah, no, I'll be like, okay. And that has happened more than once where I've brought something to the team because I wasn't really sure what they wanted to do, and I wasn't really sure if I liked it either. So I'll bring it to a consensus. And I like diplomatic processes. I'm a philo, like I believe in knowledge and understanding and conversation. And creative thinking, it's really big on my priority list. So if I bring something to the team, it's usually because I'm not super sure myself. And the things that I haven't been sure of, they've also shot down. So we come to a consensus, that's not a word, a consensus as a team when I'm really not sure. And I think that I'll continue that with my core team of people. I don't know that in 5 years from now, I'll feel the same way about new people coming in, because my team right now really has a vision. They're on the same page with me. They have a vision. They know what they want to do. They know where they want to be. And like sitting with them and talking about that, it's like super cool and really exciting. So that's kind of where my markers are.
Yes, I hear 5 years a lot, which I like. I even have a workshop called the 5 Year Look Back Blueprint. So tell me, what is your boldest vision for your company in the next 5 years?
I want it all. No, I want to be on the stock exchange. I don't know if I'll make it in 5 years, but I thought a lot about size and efficiency. Um, I know there's a number in sales I want to hit, and I'd like to be a company that lives around 20 to 30 million a year. And I don't know if I'll hit that in 5 years, but that's basically the goal. And I'd like to have a staff of around 20 people. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've been in large corporations, big ones, like huge companies. And I see a lot of inefficiencies within them, but they're also at $1 billion. So they're going to have inefficiencies. I don't really give two buttholes about $1 billion. I was going to say other words, but we'll just go there. I was filtering. I want my staff to make good money. I want to pay them what I think that everybody is worth, which is way more than most people. I'm pretty generous. I want them to enjoy their lives. And I also want them to feel like a part of something. And I think that's really important for high achievers. And I roll with a lot of people who are very A-type personalities and want to accomplish stuff. And most of the time, those people, it's not just money. It's really, are they contributing something to the world? Are they shaping something? Are they giving something back? And so I want people to have that vision with me. And I don't think I can do that with more than a 20-person team. I also see myself in like a partial brick and mortar. Right now we're all remote, and I'm good with that. I've been remote like 12 years now, but I am starting to see that I do need to have people like in my business at a location at a certain time in a certain place. And I know we're going to need that soon. So in 5 years, I think we're going to hit our max. I'm going to hire someone who can do like the operations. I don't know that I want to, this is going to sound really weird as a founder, but I don't know that I want to be a CEO. I think that's kind of boring. Like I want to do the fun things in the business. Like I want to work with branding and I want to keep, running studies because I enjoy those things. And I don't think you can do all that stuff and still be the CEO. I still want to be like the final decision maker, but I see myself hiring a C-suite and like kind of like living above all of them and making final decisions, how I structure things and making a certain amount of money that it's really worth it for really great talent to come and be part of this vision and this journey with me.
We all want to work for you.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Who is Stacey? When things get tough, what keeps Stacey inspired?
Probably my husband. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but like he's been a big cheerleader of mine. He wanted me to do this and he wanted me to really he kind of more than anybody else talked me into it with my post-traumatic stress from my first business. He's like, you have so much potential and you can do this and you should. He's like, you should. I think that this is what you need to do. And so when I have like those rough days, like he's my best friend and we kind of like talk through it. And he's like, come on, we'll channel together. We'll like manifest together. As you were saying, we do manifest and we do focus on like things that we really want. And so we'll sit there and we'll just kind of like go through the experience and like focus on the end game. And like, I just told you what my end game is. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I believe that I can. And that's all that really matters because I believe I can get there. So he believes it too. And so I have someone who's like right there with me in the trenches, believing in it too. So I think that's super helpful. And I think that's how I get through those days.
That's called the energy of support. Tell me this, what are you most hopeful about for the world today?
That is something I can't answer without even thinking about it. I really hope that we all start talking to each other and listening like we used to in the 90s. I miss the 90s a little bit and the early 2000s. I'm really hopeful that I believe that when there is like chaos, and I feel like there is a lot of chaos right now, through chaos, there's always a rebirth. And through that rebirth, there's always something new that comes through. I don't know what that looks like, but I really hope that the pendulum swings back to people just talking to one another, listening to one another, and having more grounded conversations. And I really think that it's going to happen. But right now, it feels very convoluted for the world. And I wish that it wasn't like that. And I wish things were a little bit easier. And I feel bad for the youngest generation that's coming into the workplace right now. I feel like they're getting the grunt of a lot of that.
Yeah, if you were to tell somebody that's thinking about starting on this path of founding a company and being a leader through the early stages of what you've been doing with your business, what would you give them as advice, as something that might help them as they're thinking and starting the path?
I would say have a rough draft and like really feel like that rough draft. I don't know how else to explain that, but like write down the things that you want to achieve and they're going to change over time. They always do, but like to start something from nothing, you really have to have a lot of grit and you have to have a lot of consistency, be consistent, have understanding that this is going to take some time. I do not have a lot of patience. I am not a patient human being. And my friends who have had conversations with me are like, be patient. You'll be fine. I'm like, I'm not a patient person. Be patient. It's true. You'll get there. But really focus on what it is that you want to do and what it is that you want to build, because everything else kind of comes together. You just don't realize you're doing it until you are like, you look back a year from now and you see it. Like a year ago, I was like, am I going to even get through this year? And not only did I get through the year, but I'm already 4 times more profitable. I've had 4 times the sales than I did last year. So I'm doing just fine. It's just when you don't take yourself out of yourself, you have to think about that. You have to like take a step back and go, what was I doing last year? Where am I this year? Give yourself a break because there's going to be a lot of progress that you make the first 6 months, but you're not going to see a lot of income, or you're not going to see a lot of the things that you expect. That's okay. Keep going. Just keep going.
Yes, realistic words. I have a question for you for my final question today.
Okay.
It's been great. If your younger self were to watch this podcast, what would you tell them?
Oh my God. My younger self was a disaster by the end of her 20s. So, this is a true story. I lost my business in 2008, and it's not like I couldn't find it and I didn't know where it was. I literally lost it. And I lost it because I was a high-end clothing line. Like I sold really expensive things. And in 2008, we had a financial collapse, for those of you who don't know what that was. And I do have people on my staff that don't, and that's okay. So overnight, I lost pretty much my business. My orders just fell off a cliff, and the orders that I did have in production, when I shipped them, they were like refused. So not only did I have orders in production, but the production line that I'd already created was also getting refused. Like I wasn't making any money. I think I lost $800,000 in like the span of a handful of months, and it like leveled my business. So when I closed, my friends were trying to cheer me up, and they're like, here's this book, fill it out. And so there was like this one section where like it was stepping stones, and the stepping stones were supposed to go in an ascending order. And I wrote and drew these stepping stones in a descending order. And I didn't know that that was like I knew it was bad when my friend was like, yeah, you're supposed to be in the other direction, like not down. And so I would say to my 20-year-old self, like, you did all the things that you're going to do, all the things that you need to do to get to the next level in life. You're just going to have to figure it out, and it's going to be a little painful, but you'll be okay. And that's what I would say to myself, because at that time, like I was just so down in the dumps. Like I just didn't know what to do. I had achieved everything I ever put my mind to by 28. I had a fashion design company, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a clothing designer, which is what I was. And I wanted to sell internationally, which is what I was doing. And then I lost it all. And I was like, I don't even know what to do tomorrow. And I ended up, painfully not figuring it out for quite a bit of time. Like it took me about a year to get back on track. And that's okay. That's okay. It happens.
Well, thank you for being here, Staci Miller. Tell the viewers again about your company and where they can find you.
So we're GenUX Consulting, www.genuxconsulting.com. And everything about us is there. We're a research and design firm. And if you're looking for research and design, it doesn't matter what type of research. We don't do industrial design, but we do all web-based and branding and things of that nature. So we would love to hear from you. And that's what we do. Thank you for having me on, Tom.
It was a pleasure, Staci. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a great podcast, and who knows, maybe we'll do a part 2 someday.
I would love it.
Yes. And to my viewers, this is Opening Pathways with Tom Lenoble, and I'll see you next time.